Well, ain't that one hell of a view? Howdy, folks. Good morning, afternoon, evening, tea time, whatever the time it is in your part of the world, and welcome back to the Touchpad Warrior live stream. That's not it. Hi, I normally don't make long form YouTube content. In case you guys haven't noticed, I'm aiming for at least once per alpha cycle. That's right, we're in midnight alpha. Isn't that great? And the last time I made a long form video was War Within Alpha. You guys know I only did like the TikTok and Instagram content. Now lately the shorts are coming up. Anywho, we got early access to midnight alpha. And in this video, we're going to break down a lot of the things that changed in the warrior tree. Now, you may have noticed I've squished myself down to this side of the screen. There's a reason for that. It's not just cold outside. So, here is our current World of Warcraft core warrior talent tree, as we know and love it, right? Or maybe hate it. And this is what we have currently in alpha. Now, keep in mind, everything is subject to change, but this is what we currently have. Things have been kind of together. And there's been a lot of adjustments if you compare those two trees. I'm just going to keep making weird scenes because I think it makes, kind of more entertaining. Just keep squishing myself down. By the end of the video, I'll be gone. Which also would work if it's the end of it. Doesn't matter. Anyways, over here is what we have currently on live for War Within Live in patch 11.2. And over here is what we have for Midnight, this first alpha build, right? The one we're able to see right now. So, running right out the gate, boom, you can make a very, very clear understanding of a major change. Yeah, there's no Avatar Thunderous Roar down there, but they didn't keep Champion Spear, which is kind of interesting. So the philosophy they're going for the Core Warrior talent tree is it's going to be more utility and survivability. So what you provide to a part of your raid, instead of what it was, which is damage and survivability. So that's already one major shift. If you look at the current Midnight build, we have 4 different capstones down there now. So we have Anger Management, we have Last Stand, so every spec of Warrior can have Last Stand. Champion Spear pretty much didn't change. I know I'm kind of cutting you off right there. And then we have Battlefield Commander, which you can't see at all. So, bye. Bloop. There you go. Battlefield Commander. It grants you an additional 3% attack power. I already see some complications going in through that, because you're probably going to want to take this for damage, right? Rallying Cry now also gives you 5% leech and 30% movement speed to allies. Piercing Howl now radius is increased by 100%. The radius of Berserker Shout is also increased by 8 yards, and Intimidating Shout is now reduced by 15 seconds. Folks, if I happen to trip over my words, it's been a very long day of recording things. It's going to happen. We're doing this raw. Natty. Okay? Cool. Sick. Awesome. That's already a major change, right? Just that alone. And we're going to switch some scenes here to make it like a little bit more palatable on the eyes. There we go. I got some breathing room. If you'd like to make some comparisons and move along with what you have logged in right now into War Within, or you can use Wowhead as talent calculator like I just did, and go along as you would like. More than welcome to. So, just some of the major things that's changed. We now have a choice node for Intervene. So here's Intervene, that has not been adjusted, and then here is now Interpose. Interpose is run at a high speed towards a target location near your allies. Now, the wording on that is interesting. It originally made me think that it would work like Heroic Leap does, which I thought, yo, that's awesome. Cool. We actually have more mobility options, and it's a defensive for your party. Taking 30% of all damage dealt to allies within 3 yards for 8 seconds, or until you take at least 12,708 damage from this effect. Keep in mind, we also had a stat squish, so these numbers are, like, they're squished down. Don't worry, that might actually be a decent chunk. It doesn't currently operate like Heroic Leap does, and the wording can be misleading. Could be just a bug, not sure. But if that functions like Heroic Leap does, I'm definitely going to want to take this talent. Another major thing that happened is there's a choice node for Rend now, and Rend has changed. So Rend now lashes out your weapon, striking all targets within 8 yards and applying the bleed effect, instead of just being a single target ability. The interesting choice here is we still have Thunderclap, and we still have Blood and Thunder. Blood and Thunder is the choice node with Rend. But Thunderclap will only affect 5 targets with Rend, not every target. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to play out. I'm assuming it's just there still for Mountain Thane to provide additional damage. Not sure, but it's interesting. We also have Resonant Voice. The effects of your shouts last 20 seconds, 20% longer. So it was a long day. I could also afford to last 20% longer. And then as we move down here, just going down this tree with newer things, we have Retaliation. Now, this is not the retail that you remember back in the days, like a 30-minute cooldown and like you actually do damage back to the target. Well, you do damage back to the target, but it's passive. When you take damage from an enemy within melee range, you have a chance to strike that enemy. That's it. And it shares a node with Sidearm. Sidearm, again, hasn't really changed. Auto attacks, 20% chance, yada yada. And that goes down to the battlefield, commander, or to champion spear. Again, without having the damage modifiers to champion spear, it's kind of meh, but like having it as a PvP option, cool, we'll take it. Over here for Death Strikes, it is now 2% mastery in total and increases the auto attack damage by 100% when you fully take this. So we can just take off these two, bam. So slight change there, we'll take it. Then you go over here to two-hand weapon specialization. That hasn't changed, 6% damage to two-handers and also 4% reduced damage from area of effects. And then you also have Cruel Strikes. Cruel Strikes hasn't changed. There you go. Neato. Last Stand is a passive, though. When your health is brought to below 20%, your Marshal, sorry, not your Marshal, Jesus. Are you Marshal? I'm losing my mind, sorry. You marshal your inner strength to increase the maximum health by 30% for 15 seconds and instantly heal yourself for that amount. And it has a CD of 4 minutes. So, neat, cool. We get an option of defensive. As we're rotating up and around, Barbaric Training is still there. Modifies Slam, Whirlwind, Thunderclap. 10% increased critical strike damage. We still have Concussive Blows. I don't see many folks taking this ability. Every once in a while, sure, but that's about it. For Honed Reflexes, slight buff increase. Used to be 5%, if I'm not mistaken. It was, so now it's 10%. There we go. Neat. Now, this is something really interesting. When it goes into the philosophy they want for the core warrior talent tree, right? They want you to provide something to your player party. Now, they didn't give us Bloodlust, but they are giving us a lot of movement speed increases. So, like what we had for Rally down here, a 30% movement speed increase and 5% leech, Piercing Howl also has something for that. So, Piercing Howl still does a 70% slow. It also can give your allies within 24 yards a 30% movement speed increase. Interesting. If you're tanking and you want to like kite some packs, you're slowing them, you're moving faster. Awesome. If you're a DPS warrior in that scenario, you can help peel for somebody pretty easily. Pretty cool. I'll take it. Seems neat. Just going over any other major changes. Nothing like too wildin'. Don't believe up here. Nope. They didn't change battle stance. Didn't change defensive stance. Had to double check. Didn't change defensive stance. Crackling Thunder still there. So everything else is still very familiar up here. And just double checking for Rally. Yep. Temporary max health and temporary max health. So it hasn't changed. Battlefield Commander is going to be the most impressive change into all of this. And that's about it. So there you go. That's the core warrior talent tree. Bam. Should we move on to arms? Let's go. Round 2. What you see is before. No. Right. For the arms tree. Same thing as before. Getting a little cold outside. Falls around the bend, right? Here we go. This is our live current talent tree for arms. And this is what we have for Midnight right now. Cool. Shrunk down a little bit, right? Now, again, there's probably more adjustments into here than, honestly, in the core talent tree. There's a lot of things going on. Most notably, I would say, is if you make the comparison into the core tree, into the arms tree, there's no avatar at all. Not even an option talent for it. Fury and Prot, they actually both have avatar. It's just arms. Not quite sure what the deal is there, because we're just losing a lot of cooldowns now. Again, the philosophy of like making it so that it's less cooldowns and less bloat. There's a lot of trimming going on. It still seems kind of silly to give it to Fury and Prot and not even give an option for arms, or at least an alternative cooldown. It seems like they want you to go for Blade Storm because Ravager not being there either. So here we go. Most of these are the exact same, right? You still have Fueled by Violence. You still have, well, now a choice node between Dab of the Sword and into Ignore Pain. We have those, right? Going into Fervor Battle, same thing. Slams the primary target, 50%. Instead of being full damage, right, hitting 2 or more, this now has to hit 3 or more, and then it does it for 50% of its damage. As a choice node with Storm of Swords. So Cleveland Whirlwind, rate, reduce cost, yada yada, right? Still have improved Execute, still have Impale, and then we have some different options over here. There's a choice node for improved Sweeping Strikes, because Sweeping Strikes is just cooked into warriors now. It's not something you have to talent for, right? So we have improved, which if you read it, Sweeping Strikes affects 6 additional damaging single target abilities. They've changed Sweeping Strikes instead of being a duration, all your single target abilities hit a secondary target, that it has a cap of how many targets it hits. Like you actually have charges to work through. There's still a duration on it, but also you now have that going on. It has a choice node with this powerful momentum. Damage dealt to nearby targets by sweeping strikes is increased by 25%. Okay, we got some options to work around with. Cleave hasn't changed, still replaces Whirlwind, still have Sharpened Blades. We have Crushing Blow over here. During Colossus Smash, it's going to keep saying Colossus Smash, but that's also gone. Well, I guess they just rebranded Warbreaker. Icon was the same. Fool me. Sorry. Anyways, Colossus Smash, not Warbreaker. That's going to be a hard adjustment. During Colossus Smash, reduces the cooldown of Cleave by 33% for 6 seconds. So, major AoE. It shares node with. Colossus Smash increases the damage of your next 3 Mortal Strikes to be guaranteed to trigger Tactician. A lot in this build is going to be around Slam, which is not everybody's favorite ability, and Tactician procs. So that's what we're going after. Critical Thinking, still about the same. Collateral Damage is just down here by itself now, instead of being a choice node with, I believe it was, Improved Sweeping Strikes. So there you go. Finishing Blows, just swap sides. It's down over here. We still have Massacre, 35% for Execute. We still have Execution versus Precision, and we still have Fatality. Blizzard really likes Fatality. And then over here, we have Deep Wounds. And this is going to get a little interesting, because we're going to go into the next ability down at the bottom left. Execute inflicts deep wounds on the target. Cool. Why? It's at 35% or below, if you're talented for it, right? Or when you have a sudden death proc. And then if you go all the way down over here, mortal wounds, same thing. You inflict deep wounds on the target when you critically strike with Mortal Strike and Cleave, right? Our mastery is based around deep wounds, right? Wrong. We'll get into that in a minute. It's very easy. They changed the mastery. Mastery is now just flat damage increase while you have a 2-handed weapon on. That's it. Not kidding. I'll show you real quick. Instead of show you real quick, here you go. Boom. Mastery. Mastery. Master of Arms. While wielding a 2-handed weapon, you would deal X amount of damage. It's flat. It seems like it's 1-to-1, probably just like rounds up a little bit because it's 32.6%, and it says 33. That's it. So no longer is our mastery based around deep wounds for that damage modifier. All right, back into here. Still with me? Cool. Appreciate it. So, rest of these things down here we got going on. Bladestorm, no longer choice node with Ravager. Ravager only exists in the prot tree. We'll go over that in a little bit, but I'm not going to go over prot too much because I'm not a prot warrior, so don't feel like I should be voicing too much on that. And then we kept Merciless Bone Grinder. They got rid of the other 2 options down there for Bladestorm. Could take it or leave it. Not a big deal. Battlelord hasn't changed. We still have Dreadnought. Blizzard loves Dreadnought. I would have liked to see something new there, but it's all right. Bloodletting is still there. Now we have a choice node over here. Now, please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. More than happy to be wrong about this. But Spiteful Serenity was added like mid-Dragonflight. And I don't know about you, but I've never talented for it. It seems good in theory, right? 100% more increase duration and 40% reduction. Okay, cool. It's still like a net gain, but it hasn't been a really good choice. I think it's purely because of its choice node originally was Anchor Management, so it wasn't really a great trade-off there. It now has a trade-off with Blunt Instruments. So Colossus Smash duration is reduced by 20%, but its damage bonus is increased by 20%. So hit hard, heavy, quick, or enjoy the time vibe. That's what I'm kind of getting here. Strength of Arms still exists. Exhilarating Blows still exists. And then we have another really interesting choice node over here before we go down to these ones. I feel like I got ahead of myself, so I cut it off. So let's start a little bit higher, shall we? We still have Blood Surge, which has a chance to give you 5 rage off of Rend. And now we have Initiative. And I don't mean like Wolf Initiative, but kind of. You're charging for Initiative. Charge causes your auto attacks to generate 50% more rage for 5 seconds. So like going into a pack or starting off in PvP will help out quite a bit, right? Now let's go down into Tactician. 2% chance per rage spent on attacks to reset the remaining cooldown of Overpower. Very standard. We're very familiar with that. And it goes down to this. This is the choice node. Brute Force. If Slam does not trigger Tactician, the critical strike chance of your next Slam is increased by 100%. Interesting. And its choice is Efficiency. Rage spent on Slam counts as double towards Tactician, so it makes it a 4% chance instead of being a 2% chance. So they want you to use Slam, like a lot more. And that goes down into here, which is Master Tactician. When Overpower has its cooldown reset by Tactician, your abilities deal 10% increased additional damage for 4 seconds. And soften them up. Slam increases the damage of your next Mortal Strike by 10%, stacking up to 3 times. So they're really emphasizing using Slam as a filler ability now, because it's going to modify your other abilities. Like hitting Slam is going to give you more Overpower, and hitting that Overpower, getting that proc, is going to give you more damage increase, right? And then hitting Slam at least 3 times in a row is going to increase your Mortal Strike by 30%. There's like a theme here going on with wanting Slam to be actually used, which honestly, I'm kind of down for, but it still feels kind of icky in my mouth because there were so many years of Slam just being absolutely terrible. Last but not least, we have this middle choice node. We have Just Warming Up, which is just a standard flat 15 rage after using CS. And then we have Broad Strokes. Not gonna make a joke. Colossus Smash grants 6 charges of sweeping strikes. This effect will not allow sweeping strikes to exceed 18 stacks. So the stacks is in reference to how they change sweeping strikes to be per ability. Like you have X amount of stacks. If you have 5 stacks, your next 5 abilities do sweeping strikes damage. That's it. The very interesting thing about this is that if you hit it currently on on alpha, is it just uses the cooldown of sweeping strikes. So I'll give you a quick example. I still can't get over how beautiful Silver Moon is. Like, my God. Okay, anyways, here we go. So if we go into a charge, right, and then you hit sweeping strikes, if you look up here, you have 18 stacks, but it's a 30-second duration. So each ability you hit, boom, it consumes a charge. Now, here's the thing. We're at 15 stacks. If I hit Colossus Smash, right, it only will give me 3 of those 6 it would have granted me. But, again, I think this is just a bug. We'll go into the reverse order of such. All right, abilities reset. Go into a pool. Typically, you would start off with hitting Colossus Smash, right? There's our 12 stacks. It automatically consumed sweeping strikes. So actually, there is like a little bit of layering here where you would be incentivized to hit sweeping strikes first, go through 6 of those charges, and then hit Colossus Smash. On top of which your collateral damage, all your secondary, or actually collateral damage spiked up. They changed it to stack up to 3 times and no longer is never ending. There's no like peak potential from hitting the ability. So I'm assuming it's just a bug, not intended, right? Because that would be kind of really weird to go into a poll and then electively choose the sweeping strikes first and then Warbreaker. I'm going to keep saying Warbreaker. The icon's right there because there's no benefit for collateral damage afterwards, right? So maybe that's like the sweet spot, the extra 10% difference that's going to be between players on like who's going to be really good at playing arms and who's going to be kind of okay at it. But at the moment, hitting that and having it automatically use sweeping strikes does feel like kind of robbery. So not exactly sure how I feel about it. Again, hoping it's just a bug. And while we're here for Interpose, you can see it actually uses like a heroic leap ability would, right? However, you don't actually get to use it anywhere. If you're near an ally, then it does work. It doesn't work on NPCs. Here's an ally. Boom. There you go. Bam, boom, boom. Interesting. I really hope they end up changing it. You can choose anywhere to do such. Now, before we go into the Fury tree, I just want to make a quick mention. We don't have our talents yet for any hero talents on this side of our hero talent tree, and we also have no Apex talents for warriors yet. So there's nothing to review, sadly. Kind of wish there was. It just means another opportunity for a video in the future. But let's go for Fury, and probably the most exciting thing about this entire expansion for me. Okay, not really, but we'll show you. Or maybe not show you, because after updating the client, it's not here anymore. But there was a Titan's Grip, single-minded Fury, and it said not working yet, or not yet working, or intended. Not working as intended, one of those things. And it said that you could transmog your 2-handed weapons into one-handers. I don't know why it's there, or not there. I had such high hopes. I hope it's just a bug and it's supposed to be like in the transmog section, you could just do it now. I guess we'll find out later down the build. For the Fury tree, a little bit less has changed, just a lot of moving around. And if you'd like to make a comparison, honestly, I've done it already back and forth here and there. Just open up Wowhead or log in game. Cool. Interactive. Anywho, we'll just go over some of the like major changes and some of the new additions into this tree. So First up, right down here, brand new icon, we have Surge of Adrenaline. When Raging Blow resets its own cooldown, your auto attack damage and speed is increased by 30% for 6 seconds. All right, cool, we'll take it. We now have a choice node between Odin's Fury and Bladestorm instead of it being Ravager, right? We also have a choice node for Avatar and Reckless Abandon. Reckless Abandon doesn't look like it's changed much, about the same thing, so Bloodbath and Crushing Blow. Then we have over here, we have Executioner's Wrath. Execute generates 5 additional rage, increase the damage of your rampage by 10% for 4 seconds. And this is honestly the coolest thing out of Fury. Kill or be killed. It's a passive. When you would sustain fatal damage, you instead fly into an unstoppable rage, becoming unkillable and immune to movement impairing effects for 8 seconds, as you seek revenge on your would-be killer. If you kill your killer in that time, that 8 seconds, right? You emerge triumphant. And sorry, I'm still just laughing. I also said triumphant wrong. Triumphant. You emerge triumphant from your blind rage with at least 20% of your maximum health intact. If you are not victorious, you die. This effect can only occur every 5 minutes. So PvP is going to be hilarious. On brand for warrior themes, right? In raid, man, you better hope you die like 8 seconds before the boss is about to die. Right? Because otherwise that's just going to look sad. Reminds me of old Shadow Priest days. Over here we have Rage Drinker. Bloodthirst critical strikes restore twice as much health, and you enrage for 2 seconds. That's it. And that's honestly pretty much it. Like, there's some adjustments into Bloodthirst. They're really focusing on Bloodthirst being more of like a primary ability and actually fun to hit. Over here we do have a weird change, and I've already reported it. Whirlwind deals 100% additional damage when it hits 3 or more targets, and you have no stacks of improved Whirlwind. I'm pretty sure the intent of this is supposed to be just for Slayer AoE, because for Mountain Thane AoE, well, improved Whirlwind is replaced by Thunderclap. And I tested it back and forth. This doesn't modify Thunderclap. So I think that talent specifically exists for Slayer, but I still reported it because it was not modifying Thunderclap. And Rampaging Ruin. While improved Whirlwind is active, Rampage strikes all targets in front of you for 155.7. My brain, I'm so tired, I'm so sorry. Deals reduced damage beyond any targets. So it will still consume a like Meat Cleaver stack or improved Whirlwind stack, but instead it's going to just lash out additionally. That's about it. It's kind of cool. We also have Deep Wounds now in Fury, which is a kind of interesting choice. And that's, for the most part, it from anything I've tried to discover. Target quickly struck to do. Bloodthirst takes additional 20% damage from your bleeds. Like, it's all right. That's about it. Honest to God, that's pretty much it for Fury. Really need to see those Apex talents. But this is the coolest damn ability, and I'm really hopeful they actually do implement that Single-Minded Fury transmog. Because Single-Minded Fury being gone, totally down for that. Very excited for that. I was over it. They're trying to tune for that should never be a scenario. So hopefully they re-implement that transmog thing. What? I told you guys I wasn't going to cover Prot. I'm not a Prot warrior main. I don't know what the hell's going on over there. I barely pay attention to it. Every once in a while I go Prot, I'm like, hey, these talents work? Sick. I'm going to let somebody smarter handle that one. But at least you guys get Avatar. So that's cool. So finishing statements or thoughts on this first rendition of our warrior tree, right? Which also is unfinished because we don't have our Apex talents, and we also don't have our additional talents for our hero talent trees. I don't know. I don't know. Fury seems hopeful. Arms is kind of all over the place. It feels empty with not having all those like 45-second and minute half CDs. So I'm a little disappointed in that. I'm going to miss Ravager, but also Ravager just kind of threw it and you didn't care about it really afterwards. It wasn't like this great empowering ability. You were just throwing your weapon. So, the core tree definitely seems like it aligns with what the philosophy is that they have, with making it so you have like grouped utility going on and defensives instead of just being like, here's your damage. And arms just seems kind of confusing. And hitting slam more. But I really hope they like juice up Bladestorm by a lot to make it feel like it's an empowering cooldown. Because, man, missing Avatar feels kind of funky. It doesn't doesn't fit in thematically to remove Avatar if you are a Colossus Arms Warrior. Right? It feels like Avatar is very on brand for Colossus. Very on brand for Mountain Thane, more so than Colossus. But it's going to feel kind of weird that Fury and Prot gets it and Arms doesn't. So hopefully down the line, we'll see either like a different cooldown we can get for it, or just plop it back in there and call it a day, because I'm really going to miss that ability, especially for the immunity to movement speed. Yeah. Removing all roots and snares. Let's be honest, in PvE, I wasn't really using that anyways. But in PvP, it was kind of nice. Anyways, there we go. That's the breakdown. That's what we got going on. There'll be more long-form videos when it comes to changes going into it, as long as there's a major change. But more importantly, I'll be live on Twitch 6 nights a week, 6 hours a night. So if you have questions, we're probably playing alpha right now as you're watching this. Maybe. I probably posted it too early in the day. I start streaming at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So there you go. And if you want more information, like from smaller bits and whatnot, you can check out the shorts on this page, or you can check out Instagram or TikTok. All right, there you go. I did it. I finally made another long-form YouTube video. It might be too long. I have to go edit it now. I want to do it more raw and organic. I want to feel like a person instead of just like reading off things. So my brain's kind of like all over the place. Hopefully it'll make people feel smarter, right? That could be a win. Everybody needs a dub. There you go. Hopefully you feel better about yourself by watching this video. Cheers, and have a legendary day.